Hey guys, you're listening to Revenge Diaries with Emma. Today we are diving into a story that starts with a single, seemingly innocent piece of cardstock and ends with a wedding altar that looked more like a war zone. You know, they say your past is never really behind you, it's just sitting in the audience, waiting for a cue. We all have that one ex, the one who left your heart looking like a dropped plate, all sharp edges and messy pieces. You spend years carefully gluing yourself back together, building something new and beautiful, only to find they've been invited to the unveiling. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. I'd also love to know where in the world you're listening from and what your local time is. Are you cozy with a morning coffee, or is this a late night, can't sleep session for you? Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into today's journey together. You're holding the proof, right there in your hands. The paper is thick, expensive, a creamy ivory with elegant, raised lettering. You and Chloe spent weeks choosing this specific font, this specific weight of paper stock. It felt so important then, a physical manifestation of the future you were building. Your name, Alex, is entwined with hers in a delicate script. The scent of her perfume, that familiar jasmine and sandalwood, still clings to the envelope, a ghost of the moment she handed it to you with a triumphant, teary smile. "It's perfect," she'd whispered. And it was. Now, your thumb traces the embossed letters, but your eyes are locked on a name nestled deep within the guest list on your laptop screen. You're doing a final check, cross-referencing the RSVPs with the seating chart. It's a mundane task, one you volunteered for to ease Chloe's load. The names blur together, aunts, uncles, college friends, work colleagues. And then, you see it. A name that doesn't belong. A name that sends a jolt, like a static shock, straight to your core, Lena. For a second, your brain refuses to process it. It must be a mistake. A different Lena. A ghost in the machine. But you know it's her. Lena Moretti. The address listed is her current one, in the city, just a 20-minute drive from this very apartment you share with Chloe. Your breath hitches. The hum of the laptop fan grows deafening. You remember the last time you saw Lena, 3 years ago. It was in a rain-slicked parking lot, her words slicing through you sharper than the cold wind. You were never enough, Alex. You were just convenient. You remember the feeling of your heart, not just breaking, but shattering, each piece ground into dust under the heel of her dismissal, and Chloe. Chloe knew. You'd laid that history bare for her one night early on, a vulnerable confession in the dark. You told her about the emotional manipulation, the constant walking on eggshells, the way Lena would build you up only to tear you down for sport. You told her about the final, brutal discard. Chloe had held you, her fingers stroking your hair, and her voice was fierce with a protective anger you'd found so comforting. She never deserved you, Alex. Someone who could do that to you, they're toxic. I can't believe anyone could be so cruel. Yet, here was her name. Officially RSVP'd. +1, declined. She was coming alone. The disconnect is so vast it creates a vacuum in the room. The scent of jasmine from the invitation on the desk suddenly feels cloying, suffocating. The happy, curated life in this apartment, the framed photos of you and Chloe on hikes, the cozy throw blanket she insisted on buying, the shared coffee mug that says, "My person," it all seems like a stage set, flimsy and ready to topple. You push back from the desk, the chair legs screeching against the hardwood floor. The sound is unnaturally loud in the silence. You find Chloe in the living room, curled on the sofa with her own laptop, presumably working on wedding playlist ideas. She looks up, her face illuminated by the soft glow of the screen. Her smile is easy, genuine. "Hey, you. Almost done with the seating chart?" I was thinking we could put your weird cousin Mark farther from the band. His air guitar is a public menace. You don't smile back. You can't. You just hold up your own laptop, the screen tilted toward her, your finger pointing at the name. Chloe. What is this? Her smile doesn't vanish, but it stiffens, becoming something fixed and practiced. She squints at the screen. What is what, honey? Did we double book a seat? Lena, you say, and the name feels like ash in your mouth. Lena is on the guest list. She's RSVP'd. Chloe's expression shifts then, but not into the shock or confusion you expect. It morphs into a look of careful, measured nonchalance. She closes her laptop with a soft click. Oh. That. Oh. That, you repeat, your voice low and dangerously steady. What do you mean, oh, that? How is she on the list, Chloe? How did she even get an invitation? She unfolds her legs and stands, smoothing down her sweater. I invited her. The simplicity of the statement, the sheer audacity of it, leaves you speechless. You just stare at her, waiting for the punchline, for the logical explanation that will make this nightmare make sense. It doesn't come. Why? You finally manage to ask, the word barely a whisper, because it's the mature thing to do, Alex, she says, her tone infuriatingly reasonable, like she's explaining something to a child. We're moving on. We're building this amazing life together. Holding on to past anger, it's so heavy. I thought it would be a powerful gesture. A way for you to finally close that chapter for good, to show her, to show everyone, that you've truly moved on and are happy. The ultimate victory. You listen to her words, each one layering onto the last, building a monument of absolute insanity. The ultimate victory? Inviting the woman who systematically dismantled your self-esteem to the day that's supposed to be the happiest of your life? You think of Lena's sharp, assessing eyes taking in the venue, the guests, your face as you say your vows. You imagine her quiet, condescending smile. There would be no victory in that. Only a haunting, you thought, you say slowly, the control in your voice starting to fracture, that without discussing it with me, you would invite my emotionally abusive ex-girlfriend to our wedding as a power move? It was supposed to be a surprise, she says, a flicker of defensiveness finally entering her voice. A good one. I was going to tell you once, she confirmed. I thought you'd see it my way. That you'd understand it's about rising above. Rising above? A harsh, disbelieving laugh escapes you. Chloe, you don't rise above a snake by inviting it to your picnic. You get as far away from it as possible. You knew what she did to me. You held me while I talked about it. And you decided to bring that back into my life on our wedding day? Her jaw tightens. The placating mask slips another inch. It's my day too, Alex. And I think it's a beautiful, forgiving thing to do. It shows strength. Maybe you should try showing a little instead of this. She gestures at you, at your obvious distress, as if it's an overreaction that I end that moment, staring at her defiant face, the foundation of your entire relationship, the trust you thought was unshakable, develops a hairline crack that you feel deep in your soul. This wasn't about maturity or strength. This was something else entirely. And as you stand there, in the home you built together, the creamy wedding invitation feeling like a lead weight in your hand, you realize the person you're about to marry is a stranger. And the wedding you've been dreaming of for a year has just become a trap. The silence that follows her words isn't quiet, it's a physical pressure filling the room, thick and heavy with everything left unsaid. You can hear the faint hum of the refrigerator from the kitchen, the distant wail of a siren several blocks away, the frantic thumping of your own heart against your ribs. Chloe stands her ground, her arms now crossed over her chest, a defiant line that tells you the conversation, in her mind, is shifting from explanation to argument. That flicker of defensiveness you saw a moment ago has now solidified into a wall. You're no longer discussing a shocking oversight. You're challenging a decision she has clearly already justified to herself 100 times over. Try showing a little strength, you finally echo, the words tasting bitter. You think this is about a lack of strength? Chloe, this is about betrayal. You made a decision about one of the most painful parts of my past, a decision that directly affects the most important day of our future, and you didn't even think to mention it to me. It wasn't a betrayal, it was a gesture, she insists, her voice rising in pitch. A gesture of closure. God, Alex, do you want to carry this baggage around forever? I was trying to free you from it. To show you that you're so far above her, her presence doesn't even matter. The logic is so circular, so manipulative, it makes your head spin. Her presence does matter. It matters to me. How can you not see that? This day, our wedding, is supposed to be about us. About our love, our commitment. It's supposed to be safe. And you've intentionally invited a ghost from my past who specializes in emotional chaos. You've turned our sanctuary into a stage for your own weird psychological experiment. Her eyes flash. It's not an experiment. It's maturity. Something you're clearly lacking right now. I thought my fiancé was stronger than this. I thought he'd understand that the high road is the only road worth taking. And there it is. The subtle shift, the classic move. She's not just defending her action anymore, she's attacking your character for your reaction to it. Your pain is not a valid response, it's a personal failing. You're not strong enough, not mature enough. The familiarity of the tactic is like a punch to the gut. It's not the same as Lena's brutal, direct cruelty, but it's a cousin to it, a polished, sanctimonious version that leaves you feeling small and irrational for having feelings at all. This isn't the high road, Chloe, you say, your voice dropping, weary now. The high road would have been respecting my history and my feelings. This feels like a power play. Why does it feel like this is more about you proving something to yourself than it is about me finding a closure? For a split second, her mask of righteous indignation slips. You see something else in her eyes, a flicker of something hard and calculating, a flash of insecurity so profound it momentarily eclipses everything else. It's gone in an instant, replaced by a wounded pride. How can you say that? She breathes out, her hand flying to her chest as if you physically struck her. After everything I've done for this wedding, for us? I have spent a year of my life planning every detail to make this day perfect for us. I've handled the florist who tried to swap our peonies for carnations, the caterer who thought gluten-free was a suggestion, your mother's 17-page email about the seating arrangement. I have navigated a minefield of drama, and you're going to stand there and accuse me of a power play because I tried to do one beautiful, generous thing? She's reframing the narrative again, painting herself as the martyred wedding planner whose magnanimous gesture is being spurned by her ungrateful groom. She's weaving your valid, visceral hurt into the tapestry of mundane wedding stressors, trying to make it seem like you're just another problem to be managed. You think of the countless conversations you've had about Lena, the vulnerability you showed, the trust you placed in her to understand that this wasn't just some petty breakup, it was a foundational wound. And she's reduced it to an item on a checklist, right between the florist and the caterer. This isn't about the wedding planning, Chloe, and you know it, you say, the weariness turning into a cold, clear certainty. This is about a fundamental breach of trust. You knew. You knew how much she hurt me. You knew I would never, ever want her there. And you did it anyway. You looked at the one person from my past I never wanted to see again, and you sent her a gold-embossed invitation. So, I'm going to ask you one more time, and I want the real answer. Why did you really invite Lena? The air crackles. The performance of wounded innocence seems to drain from her. Her shoulders slump, but it doesn't look like defeat. It looks like a tactical retreat into a different kind of armor, one of cold, hard truth, or at least, her version of it. Fine, she says, her voice flat now, all the performative emotion gone. You want the real reason? I was tired of it. I was tired of hearing about Saint Lena the Destroyer. I was tired of feeling like this ghost had more power over you than I did. I thought if she was there, in the flesh, you'd see her for what she is, just a person. Not some monster from your past. And you'd see me, standing there, choosing you, and you'd realize that your past is truly over. That I won. The confession hangs in the air, ugly and stark. It wasn't about your closure. It was about her victory. It was about her exorcising a ghost she saw as competition, about forcing a confrontation she felt she needed to win in order to feel secure. She wanted to parade your healed life in front of the person who broke it, not to free you, but to claim her trophy. The wedding wasn't just a celebration. In her mind, it was a gladiatorial arena, and she needed Lena there to witness her triumph. You look at the woman you were ready to vow your life to, and you see a deep, unsettling insecurity you never fully recognized before. This wasn't the strong, confident partner you fell in love with. This was someone so haunted by a shadow, she was willing to risk the entire reality of your relationship to prove the shadow wasn't there. And in doing so, she'd created a much more tangible, much more dangerous threat. She hadn't just invited your ex to the wedding. She'd handed Lena a front row seat to the cracks in your relationship, and you have a sickening feeling that Lena, of all people, would know exactly how to exploit them. The rehearsal dinner feels less like a celebration and more like a wake for a relationship that hasn't technically died yet. You move through the private room of the upscale Italian restaurant on autopilot, a fixed, pleasant smile plastered on your face that feels as stiff as drying plaster. You shake hands with Uncle Greg, you laugh at your father's predictably bad joke. You nod as Chloe's mother gushes about the floral arrangements for the umpteenth time. But your entire being is tuned to a single, high-frequency alert, waiting for the disruption you know is coming. The air is thick with the scent of garlic and rosemary and a tension that, to anyone else, might feel like pre-wedding jitters, but to you, smells distinctly like impending doom. Chloe is a vision of bridal grace in a pale blue dress, her arm linked through yours, her laughter a little too bright, a little too frequent. She's playing the part of the happy, stress-free bride-to-be, but you can feel the rigidity in her arm, the calculated pressure of her grip. She's performing for an audience of one who hasn't even arrived yet. This entire evening has become her stage, and she's determined to prove her point, to show you, and Lena, just how won this victory is. Every time she leans her head on your shoulder or whispers, "I love you," just loudly enough for nearby relatives to hear, it feels like a line from a script, a move in a chess game you never agreed to play, and then, the atmosphere in the room shifts. It's not a sound you hear, but a change in pressure, like the air itself being drawn toward the entrance. Conversations don't stop, but they falter. Heads turn almost imperceptibly. You follow their collective, subtle gaze that she's here. Lena stands in the arched doorway, pausing for a moment as if allowing the room to absorb her presence. She hasn't changed, and yet she has. She's sharper, more polished, a blade that's been honed. She wears a simple, devastatingly chic black dress that screams confidence in a room full of summer colors. Her eyes, that cool, assessing gray, sweep across the gathering, bypassing clusters of chatting guests before landing directly on you and Chloe. A slow, knowing smile touches her lips, not warm, but acquisitive. It's the smile of someone who has just walked into a room and found exactly what they were looking for. You feel Chloe's arm tighten around yours, her nails digging slightly into your sleeve. Her own smile doesn't waver, but it becomes a terrifying, frozen thing. She came, Chloe whispers, and the tone is a bizarre cocktail of triumph and sheer panic. Lena glides through the room, not toward you immediately, but on a leisurely, indirect path. She stops to air kiss your great-aunt Susan, who looks bewildered but flattered. She shares a laugh with your college roommate, Mark, who you know for a fact has never met her. She moves with an unnerving social fluency, a predator effortlessly infiltrating the herd, marking her territory with charm and an unshakable sense of belonging. She's not an outsider. In the space of 60 seconds, she has made herself look like the guest of honor. Finally, she arrives before you. The jasmine of Chloe's perfume, once a comfort, now clashes violently with Lena's scent, something clean and metallic, like rain on cold stone. Alex, Lena says, her voice a low, familiar melody that still, infuriatingly, resonates somewhere deep in your bones. Her eyes rake over you, taking in your suit, your forced posture, your face. Look at you. All grown up and getting married. The words are pleasant, but the subtext is a caustic commentary on a child playing dress-up. Before you can form a response, a wooden one already dying on your lips, she turns to Chloe. And you must be the famous Chloe. Her smile widens, showing perfectly white teeth. I've heard so much. The invitation was such a lovely, unexpected surprise. It's so brave of you. The barb is expertly delivered, cloaked in impeccable manners. Brave. Not kind, not generous. Brave. As if Chloe were a zookeeper who had chosen to climb into the lion's den for a tea party. You feel Chloe stiffen, her grip on your arm becoming vice-like. We're so glad you could make it, Lena, Chloe says, her voice a touch too high. We wanted everyone who's been important in our lives to be here. Oh, I'm sure, Lena replies, her gaze flicking back to you, lingering for a moment too long. Some chapters are just too formative to ever really close, aren't they? They always leave their mark. Her eyes seem to trace an invisible scar on your psyche. The venue for tomorrow is just beautiful, by the way. I took a little detour to see it on my way here. So intimate. It will make for a very memorable day. There is a weight to the word memorable that feels like a threat. She excuses herself with a final, cryptic smile, melting back into the crowd, leaving a wake of unsettled energy behind her. The pleasant buzz of the dinner party feels hollow now, the laughter forced. You've just had your first skirmish, and you didn't even throw a punch. She simply showed up, reminded you of her power, complimented your wedding venue with the subtlety of a sniper, and exposed the fragile facade of Chloe's confidence. As you stand there, holding on to a fiancé whose plan has already spectacularly backfired, you realize the trap has been sprung. And you're both standing right in the middle of it. The rest of the rehearsal dinner passes in a nauseating blur of clinking silverware and forced merriment. You are a ghost at the feast, your body performing the rituals of eating and smiling while your mind replays Lena's entrance on a relentless, torturous loop. That word, formative, echoes in your skull. It wasn't just a word, it was a key, deliberately inserted into a lock you tried to seal shut years ago. Every time you glance across the room, you find her looking not at you, but at Chloe, her expression one of cool, anthropological interest, like a scientist observing a flailing insect in a jar. Chloe, for her part, has descended into a state of brittle, hyperactive hostessing, laughing too loudly at jokes and refilling wine glasses with a frantic energy that broadcasts her distress to anyone paying attention, and you're certain Lena is paying the most attention of all. It's during the dessert course, as a dense slice of tiramisu turns to chalk in your mouth, that you feel a hand on your elbow. It's Mark, your best man, your brother in all but blood. His face, usually a landscape of easygoing humor, is etched with uncharacteristic seriousness. Bathroom. Now, he murmurs, his voice low and urgent, before turning and walking away without a backward glance at a cold dread. entirely separate from the Lena-induced anxiety, trickles down your spine. You mutter an excuse to Chloe, who barely acknowledges you, her focus locked on a conversation with her bridesmaids that she clearly isn't hearing. You weave through the tables and find Mark waiting for you just inside the dim, tiled restroom, his arms crossed. "We're alone," he says, checking under the stall doors anyway. "What in the actual hell, Alex? Since when is she back in the picture?" You lean against the cool porcelain of the sink, the solidity of it a small comfort. "Since Chloe decided to invite her as a wedding gift to me." A gesture of closure, apparently. Mark stares at you, his jaw slack with disbelief. "You're joking. Tell me you're joking." "That's not a gesture, that's a declaration of war. On your own wedding." "Who does that?" "Someone trying to prove a point," you say, the exhaustion of the last 24 hours finally crashing over you. "Well, mission accomplished, because Lena sure as hell looks like she's here to make one," Mark retorts, running a hand through his hair. "Look, man, I wasn't going to say anything, didn't want to add to the drama, but I can't just stand by and watch this train wreck happen." He lowers his voice even further, even though the room is empty. "I saw her. Lena. About 20 minutes before she made her grand entrance. I went outside to take a call from my mom." He pauses, letting the significance hang in the humid, lemon-scented air. "She wasn't alone, Alex. She was in the parking lot, talking to someone in a car. A guy. And it wasn't a friendly chat. It was intense. She was leaning in the window, and she did not look happy. She looked determined. And then she said something, I couldn't hear what, but I saw her hand it over. An envelope. It was thick. Looked like cash. The information hits you like a physical blow, knocking the air from your lungs. An envelope. Cash. A clandestine meeting in a dark parking lot right before she walked in to smile and sip Pinot Grigio. This wasn't just your ex coming to gloat. This was something else. Something coordinated. Who was it? You managed to ask, your voice hoarse. "I don't know," Mark admits, frustration in his tone. It was a dark sedan, rental looking. I didn't get a plate. But the guy, he had a camera next to him on the passenger seat. A big, professional one, with a long lens. The pieces, jagged and terrifying, begin to click into place. A photographer. Paid in cash. In a parking lot, away from the main event. This wasn't about capturing memories. This was about surveillance. About gathering ammunition. What is she planning? You whisper, more to yourself than to Mark. I don't know. But it's not a social call, he says grimly. She's not here to watch you get married, Alex. She's here to ruin it. And Chloe, in her infinite wisdom, handed her a front row ticket and backstage pass. You can't just let this happen. You have to call it off. Call it off. The words are so monumental, so catastrophic, they barely register as a real option. The venue is paid for, the guests are all in town, your families are beaming with anticipation. The sheer logistical, financial, and emotional avalanche of canceling a wedding the day before it happens is unthinkable. But the alternative, walking into that ceremony blind, with Lena lurking in the shadows with a paid photographer and God knows what else, is a different kind of catastrophe. I can't, you say, the weight of it crushing you. Not without proof. Not without knowing what she's actually doing. If I call it off now, based on a conversation in a parking lot, I'm the groom who lost his nerve. I'm the villain. Lena wins. Chloe's narrative, that I'm not strong enough to handle this, becomes the official story. Mark looks at you, his eyes full of a pained understanding. So what's the play, then? What do we do? You push off from the sink, standing up straight. The fear is still there, a cold knot in your stomach, but it's now being forged into something harder, sharper. A resolve. Lena thought she was the only one who could play a ruthless game. Chloe thought she could control the narrative through sheer force of will. They've both underestimated you. They've mistaken your decency for weakness, your desire for a peaceful life for a lack of fight. We don't call it off, you say, your voice steady for the first time all night. We go through with it. Mark's eyes widen. Are you insane? Maybe, you admit, a cold, grim smile touching your lips. But if they want a spectacle, Mark, I'm not going to be the passive victim in it. I'm going to give them one they'll never forget. But it's going to be on my terms. You look your best friend dead in the eye. I need your help. No questions asked. Can you do that? Mark studies your face for a long moment, seeing the shift, the steel entering your gaze. He nods once, a slow, solemn gesture. I've got your back. Always. No questions asked. You have an enemy in the camp and a fiancé who is, at best, a dangerously naive ally and, at worst, a co-conspirator in your humiliation. But now, you have your general. The battle for your wedding day has just begun. The drive home from the rehearsal dinner is a mobile tomb of silence. Chloe stares out the passenger window, the city light streaking across her stony profile, reflecting in the unshed tears glazing her eyes. The jasmine perfume in the enclosed space of the car is now an oppressive fog, each breath a reminder of the betrayal that hangs between you. You don't speak. What is there left to say? Her beautiful gesture lies in ruins, and the victorious moment she envisioned has been replaced by the chilling reality of a predator loose in her carefully constructed world. You can almost hear the frantic recalculations going on inside her head, the desperate search for a way to regain control of a situation that has spiraled far beyond her understanding. You don't offer comfort. The part of you that would have, the part that loved her unconditionally, feels like it's been sectioned off, placed behind glass for its own protection. Instead, you use the silence. You let the memory surface, the one Lena's word, formative, so effectively conjured. You don't fight it this time. You let it wash over you, not as a painful wound, but as a source of cold, clarifying intelligence. You need to remember exactly who you are dealing with. It was a Tuesday. You'd landed a huge client for the firm, a career-making account you'd been cultivating for months. You were floating, invincible. You called Lena, your voice buzzing with excitement, and told her to dress up. You were taking her to that impossibly expensive waterfront restaurant she was always talking about, your treat. You'd splurged on a new suit. You remember checking your reflection, a genuine, unforced smile on your face. You felt like the man you were always supposed to be. You picked her up. She was beautiful, of course, in a crimson dress that turned heads. But her smile was tight, her compliments on your suit a little too perfunctory. Through the appetizers, she was quiet, letting you carry the conversation, her responses monosyllabic. The euphoria began to curdle into a familiar, low-grade anxiety. What had you done wrong? You hadn't. That was the point that it was over the main course, as you were recounting the client's final, glowing confirmation, that she finally struck. She took a delicate sip of her wine, placed the glass down with precise care, and fixed you with those cool gray eyes. It's adorable how excited you are about this, she said, her voice a soft, venomous caress. Your smile faltered. Adorable? Well, it is, she continued, tilting her head. It's just so, earnest. You, in your new suit, at this fancy restaurant, thinking you've finally arrived. She leaned forward, her voice dropping to a conspiratorial whisper that felt like a shard of ice in your ear. But let's be real, Alex. You didn't land that client because you're some brilliant strategist. You landed him because old man Peterson feels sorry for you. He took pity on the eager young puppy constantly nipping at his heels. He told my father all about it at the club last week. Said he just wanted to throw you a bone to see you stop whining. The world didn't just stop, it inverted. The delicious food turned to ash in your mouth. The beautiful restaurant became a garish, mocking stage. The new suit felt like a clown costume. You stared at her, your mind scrambling, trying to find the lie. But she sold it with such effortless conviction, such pitying sincerity, that the doubt took root instantly, a fast-growing weed choking the flower of your achievement. That's not true, you stammered, your voice weak, pathetic even to your own ears. Oh, Alex, she sighed, reaching across the table to pat your hand, a gesture of such profound condescension it made your skin crawl. It's okay. Not everyone is meant to be a lion. The world needs its loyal sheep, too. I still love you. I just think it's important you have a realistic view of yourself. It saves so much disappointment later. That was her art. It was never a shouted insult, never a public scene. It was a surgical strike, delivered with intimacy, designed to poison your joy at its source, to make you doubt your every success, your every value. She needed you to feel small so she could feel large. She needed you to be the sheep so she could be the lion. You paid the exorbitant bill in a daze, drove her home in silence, and spent the rest of the night staring at the ceiling, the client's victory now feeling hollow and shameful. It took you 6 months and a chance, reassuring conversation with Peterson himself to finally believe it had been your talent, not your pity, that secured the account. But the scar, the deep-seated fear that any success was actually a fraud, remained. Formative, the car engine cuts out, jerking you back to the present. You're parked outside your apartment building. Chloe is still staring out the window, a single tear finally tracing a path through her makeup. You feel no urge to wipe it away, that memory, once a source of shame, now feels like a classified briefing. It reminds you of Lena's tactics, the indirect approach, the exploitation of insecurity, the weaponization of intimacy, the need to control the narrative by dismantling yours. She wasn't here for a simple scene. She wouldn't stand up and object during the vows. That was too crude, too easily dismissed. She was here for something far more insidious. She was here to make you, and more pointedly Chloe, doubt the entire foundation of the day, to turn your wedding into another version of that waterfront restaurant, a beautiful facade hiding a rotten core. She was here to prove that even now, she held the power to define your reality. And Chloe, in her monumental insecurity, had given her the perfect opening. As you get out of the car and walk toward the building, the cold resolve from the restaurant bathroom solidifies into a plan. You won't be her sheep anymore. It was time for the lion to learn a new role, the hunter. The apartment is a museum of a life that now feels like it belonged to someone else. The silence is heavier here, more personal, amplified by the framed photos on the walls that seem to stare at you with accusatory smiles. Chloe moves through the space like a phantom, discarding her clutch on the sofa and heading straight for the bedroom without a word, the click of the door closing a final, definitive period on any pretense of conversation for the night. You don't follow her. You stand in the living room, the ambient glow from the city painting the furniture in shades of blue and gray. The plan is forming in your mind, a desperate, dangerous architecture, but you need more than just Mark's loyalty. You need intelligence. You need someone on the inside. You pull out your phone, its light a stark beacon in the dark room. Your thumb hovers over Sarah's name. Sarah, Chloe's maid of honor. Your friend, too, once. You'd bonded over a shared, sarcastic sense of humor during the early, chaotic days of wedding planning. But in the past few months, as Chloe became more obsessive and controlling over the details, Sarah had grown quieter, her support for her best friend tinged with a watchful, concerned hesitation. You remember a specific conversation a few weeks ago, when Chloe was ranting about a cousin who dared to suggest a buffet over a plated dinner. She's just very passionate about everything being perfect, Sarah had said to you later, her tone carefully neutral. But her eyes had held a question, a silent "is this all normal to you?" You'd brushed it off at the time, chalking it up to pre-wedding stress. Now, you see it for what it was, a lifeline that it's late, but you typed the message anyway, your fingers cold and clumsy on the screen. Asterisk, hey. I know it's late. Need to talk. It's important. Can you meet me at the 24-hour diner on Elm in 20 minutes? Don't tell Chloe. Asterisk, you send it before you can second-guess the monumental risk. You're essentially asking her to choose between her best friend and her best friend's fiancé on the eve of their wedding. The 3 pulsing dots appear almost immediately, a tiny animation that holds your entire future in its grasp. They appear, vanish, then reappear. Finally, her response comes, be there in 15. The diner is a time capsule, smelling of stale coffee, greasy bacon, and vinyl. You slide into a cracked red booth in a back corner, the cushion hissing under your weight. Sarah arrives 5 minutes later, her hair pulled back in a messy bun, her face free of makeup and full of a wary apprehension. She slides into the booth opposite you, not bothering with a greeting. This is either the most dramatic pre-wedding cold feet moment in history, or something is very, very wrong, she says, her voice low. Which is it? It's wrong, you say, pushing a mug of coffee the waitress just poured toward her. Lena is here. Sarah's eyes widen. You're Lena. The human icepick? What is she doing here? Chloe invited her. As a gesture of closure. Sarah stares at you, her coffee forgotten. For a long moment, she says nothing, processing the sheer insanity of the statement. Then, she lets out a short, sharp breath that is more shock than laugh. She did what? No. No, Alex, that's insane. Why would she? She trails off, and you see the pieces clicking into place in her mind, just as they had in yours. The controlling behavior, the need for a perfect narrative, the deep, unspoken insecurities. Oh, God. She did it to prove a point, didn't she? To herself. And now Lena is here, and she didn't just come for the cake, you say, leaning forward. Mark saw her before the rehearsal dinner. She was paying a guy in a car. A photographer. In cash. The color drains from Sarah's face. A photographer? Why? To take pictures? Not the kind you put in an album, you say grimly. Sarah, I think she's planning something. Something to ruin the wedding. And I think Chloe, in her quest for this twisted version of victory, has given her all the ammunition she needs. I need to know if you've seen or heard anything. Anything from Chloe that seemed off, anything about Lena. Sarah looks down at her hands, wrapped around the warm mug. She's silent for a full minute, wrestling with her loyalty. When she looks up, her eyes are resolute. Chloe has been different. It's not just stress. It's a fixation. A few weeks ago, she went on a deep dive through all your old social media photos with Lena. She'd point out things, the way you looked at her, the places you went. She wasn't just curious, Alex. She was competitive. She kept saying things like, I'll make sure he forgets she ever existed. I thought it was just weird bride stuff. But this, she shakes her head. And then there's the bachelorette party. You tense. What about it? It was a week ago, at that spa retreat. The last night, Chloe had a lot to drink. She got really quiet, and then she said something to me that I didn't understand at the time. She said, "I'm not just marrying him, Sarah. I'm replacing her. And tomorrow, everyone will see the upgrade." I thought she was just drunk and being dramatic. But now, tomorrow is today. The wedding is tomorrow. And everyone will see. She meets your gaze, her expression horrified. Alex, what if she's planning something, too? What if this isn't just Lena? What if this is some kind of colliding mess of their mutual insanity? The revelation lands like a blow to the sternum. You thought you were dealing with one rogue agent in Lena and one foolish ally in Chloe. But Sarah's suspicion paints a far more terrifying picture. A bride who may have her own dramatic, public upgrade planned, a spectacle designed to humiliate Lena and sanctify herself, all playing directly into the hands of an ex who came prepared for war. Your wedding isn't just a target, it's a battlefield where two separate armies are about to clash, and you're standing in the middle with a white flag nobody wants to see. You look at Sarah, the only sane person left in this entire equation. "I'm not going to let it happen," you say, your voice low and steady. "I'm going to stop it. But I can't do it alone." Sarah doesn't hesitate. She reaches across the table and puts her hand over yours. "Tell me what you need me to do." The diner coffee has congealed into a bitter, tar-like sludge at the bottom of your mug, but the plan is now laid out between you and Sarah, a fragile blueprint sketched on napkins and spoken in hushed, urgent tones. She is your inside woman, your eyes and ears within the bridal suite tomorrow. Her role is observation and disruption, to watch Chloe like a hawk, to intercept any surprise upgrades she might be planning for the ceremony, and to physically delay her if things start to go off the rails. It's a lot to ask, but the grim determination in Sarah's eyes tells you she understands the stakes. This is no longer about saving a wedding, it's about surviving one. You leave the diner, the first hints of dawn a pale, sickly gray on the horizon. The city is quiet, holding its breath. Back at the apartment, the silence is now a living entity, thick and hostile. You don't go to the bedroom. You can't face the shared space, the king-sized bed that now feels like a lie. Instead, you collapse onto the living room sofa, the same one where Chloe had dropped her bombshell just hours before. It feels like a lifetime ago. Sleep is impossible. Your mind is a war room, running simulations, anticipating moves and countermoves. Lena with her paid photographer. Chloe with her secret plan for a public spectacle. You are the variable they haven't accounted for. As the sky lightens from gray to a soft gold, you push yourself up. There is one more piece of the puzzle, one more asset you need to secure. You need access. You need to be the one who controls the narrative when the storm hits. You pull out your phone again, the screen blindingly bright in the dim room. This call is even more of a gamble than texting Sarah. You call the wedding coordinator, Elara. She's a consummate professional in her 50s, unflappable and fiercely protective of her events. You'd liked her immediately for her no-nonsense efficiency. You pray that efficiency, and her loyalty to a smoothly run wedding, will override any questions she might have. It rings 3 times before she answers, her voice crisp and alert despite the hour. "Alex? Is everything all right? We're not running behind, are we?" "No, Elara, everything is on schedule," you say, injecting a carefully measured dose of stress groom anxiety into your voice. I have a massive, and I know this is unorthodox, favor to ask. It's about the audio-visual setup. There's a pause on the other end. Go on. I've prepared a little surprise for Chloe. A video montage of our relationship. I was supposed to get the final file to your tech guy, Dave, last night, but the rehearsal dinner ran late and it completely slipped my mind. The lie flows easily, coated in a veneer of romantic gesture. I have it on a USB drive. I know you have a strict protocol, but is there any way I could get access to the AV booth this morning, just for a few minutes, to load it onto the system and do a quick sound check with Dave? I want it to be perfect. The silence on the other end is longer this time. You can almost hear her weighing the breach of protocol against the charming sentiment of a groom's surprise. You hold your breath, Alex. That's very sweet, she says finally, her tone softening a fraction. We do have strict controls for a reason. But, given the circumstance, and as long as Dave is with you the entire time, I don't see the harm. I'll call him now and let him know to expect you at the venue at 9 o'clock sharp. He'll have to supervise, you understand. No one touches the equipment alone. Relief, sharp and cold, floods your system. Thank you, Elara. Thank you so much. You're saving my life. Just make it a good surprise, Alex, she says, a hint of warmth in her voice. And get some rest. You sound terrible. You end the call and slump back onto the sofa, the phone clutched in your hand. Phase 1 is complete. You have your ally in the bridal party and you have your access to the nerve center of the wedding. Now, you need the weapon itself. You get up and go to your home office, the room that has always been your sanctuary. You boot up your desktop, the monitor glowing to life. You aren't making a romantic montage. You're creating a shield, and if necessary, a sword. You pull up the cloud storage where you automatically back up everything from your phone. You start searching, your movements quick and precise. You find the audio file first, the one you'd almost deleted a dozen times, a painful relic you'd kept for reasons you never understood until now. A voice memo, recorded by accident during one of Lena's final, brutal, discussions, in your old apartment. The audio is crisp, her voice dripping with contempt as she systematically tore you apart. You'd been trying to record a song idea on your phone and had forgotten to stop the recording. Finding it later had felt like discovering a snake in your pocket. You isolate the clearest, most damning 30 seconds. You're pathetic, Alex. You think this mediocrity is a life? I need a man who challenges me, not one who follows me around like a lost puppy waiting for a scrap of affection. The words are still a gut punch, but now they feel useful. This is your insurance. If Lena makes a move, you will broadcast her true nature to the entire congregation, but you need more. This is only a defense against one threat. You need something for the other. You think about Sarah's warning about Chloe's upgrade. You need to be ready for anything. You open a new project in the editing software. You don't have a video montage of your relationship with Chloe, but you can make something else. A blank screen, with simple, elegant text. A series of statements. Questions. You work quickly, choosing a neutral, professional font. You type out the facts as you know them. The secret invitation. The hidden motive. The paid photographer. You don't make accusations you can't prove. You simply lay out the timeline, the discrepancies, the chilling coincidences. It's a clinical, devastating presentation of the betrayal. You save the file onto a brand new, high-speed USB drive. It sits in your palm, innocuous, a tiny plastic stick that contains the potential to detonate your entire life. You label it clearly, for CHLOE, surprise montage, play after Vows. The sun is properly up now, casting long, accusing shadows across the room. The wedding is in a few hours. You are armed. You are prepared. You are also utterly terrified. Because you know that by creating this weapon, you have already made a choice. You are no longer just trying to survive the day. You are preparing to end it. The morning of your wedding dawns not with joyful anticipation, but with the grim resolve of a soldier preparing for a deployment he never asked for. You shower in the guest bathroom, the water scalding your skin, trying to wash away the residue of a sleepless night. The scent of your own shampoo is unfamiliar, the routine actions of shaving and brushing your teeth feeling like someone else's ritual. You dress in your wedding suit alone, the fine fabric feeling like a costume for a play whose script has been rewritten into a tragedy. Each button fastened, each cufflink secured, is another step toward the altar, and the battlefield that a text buzzes on your phone. Mark, on my way to you. Suit is pressed, speech is, well, it's been revised. Have coffee. Strong coffee. A second text follows, from Sarah, in the bridal suite with her. Mood is, intense. Not happy bride intense. More like tactical operations intense. She's on her phone constantly, typing furiously. We'll keep you posted. Stay strong. The confirmation tightens the knot in your stomach. Chloe isn't having a peaceful morning of bridal bliss, she's plotting. The upgrade is likely being finalized. You slip the USB drive into your inner suit pocket. It feels like it weighs 1,000 pounds, a radioactive core against your chest. Mark arrives, looking as tired as you feel but with a determined set to his shoulders. He hands you a scalding black coffee in a paper cup. Fuel, he says simply. His eyes scan your face. You look like hell. You ready for this? No, you answer truthfully, taking a burning sip. But I'm out of other options. The drive to the venue is another silent journey, the car filled only with the low hum of the engine and the unspoken weight of the plan. The beautiful, rustic chic barn venue comes into view, nestled in a perfect green field under a deceptively clear blue sky. White chairs are arranged in neat rows facing a flower-strewn arbor. It's a postcard of wedding perfection, a beautiful lie waiting to be exposed. You find Dave, the AV tech, in the sound booth at the back of the barn. He's a young guy with headphones around his neck and a perpetually bored expression. He glances at you and Mark. Elara said you had a video file to load. The surprise for the bride. That's right, you say, forcing a nervous groom smile. I'm so sorry about the last-minute hassle. You hand him the USB drive that he plugs it in, his fingers flying across the keyboard. The main screen at the front of the barn, currently showing a soft focus photo of you and Chloe, flickers. Your file, labeled as instructed, appears in the media player. Dave highlights it. This one? For Chloe, surprise montage, play after Vows? That's the one, you confirm, your heart hammering against your ribs. Could you just cue it up to the first frame? I want to make sure it looks okay on the big screen. Dave shrugs and double-clicks the file. For one heart-stopping second, the screen goes black. Then, your carefully chosen text appears, stark white against the black background. The first line is visible to everyone in the empty barn, large and undeniable. A wedding should be built on trust. Dave's bored expression vanishes, replaced by confusion. What is this? It's part of the surprise, you say quickly, your voice a little too high. It's a text-based intro. Very modern. Can you just minimize it for now? Don't want to spoil it. He looks skeptical, but he clicks the window away, the soft focus photo returning. Okay, weird, but whatever you say, man. It's cued and ready. Just tell me when you want it. I will, you say, retrieving the USB drive as he ejects it. Thank you, Dave. Really? You and Mark walk away from the booth, your legs feeling like rubber. Phase 2 is complete. The weapon is loaded and aimed. Now, you just have to wait for the right moment to fire. You take your place at the front of the barn, under the arbor, facing the sea of empty chairs. The photographer, the official, vetted one, is already snapping candid shots of the setup. You can't help but scan the periphery, looking for Lena's shadow, for the glint of a long lens in the trees. The beautiful venue now feels like a beautiful trap, every shadow a potential hiding place, every smiling staff member a possible enemy. Guests begin to arrive. The air fills with the gentle murmur of voices, the rustle of fine clothing, the scent of perfume and grass. They filter in, finding their seats, their faces beaming with happy expectation. They see a handsome groom, standing tall with his best man, awaiting his bride. They have no idea they are about to witness a public execution of a relationship. Every laugh, every cheerful greeting, feels like a mockery. You see your parents, their faces glowing with pride. You see Chloe's family, smiling and waving. The guilt is a physical acid in your throat. You are about to devastate all of them. The string quartet begins to play the processional. The guests rise and turn toward the back. This is it. The point of no return. Your breath catches in your chest. The large wooden doors at the end of the aisle swing open, and there she is. Chloe. She is breathtaking. Her wedding gown is a masterpiece of lace and silk, flowing around her like a cloud. Her veil is sheer, and beneath it, her face is a mask of serene, beatific beauty. She looks every inch the perfect bride, the embodiment of a dream. She holds a spectacular bouquet of white orchids and peonies. She begins her slow, graceful walk down the aisle toward you, her eyes locked on yours. And in that moment, despite everything, a part of you, the part that loved her, the part that built a life with her, shatters. Because you know, with a certainty that is more painful than any anger, that the woman walking toward you is a stranger. And you are about to destroy her in front of everyone she knows. The music swells, a tender, soaring piece Chloe spent weeks selecting for this exact moment. It should be the soundtrack to your future, but now it's a funeral dirge. Every step she takes down the petal-strewn aisle is a countdown to detonation. Her smile is beatific, her gaze locked on yours with a practiced, loving intensity. She is performing flawlessly, lost in the role of the blushing bride, completely unaware that her co-star is about to go completely off script. You see the guests dabbing at their eyes, your mother clutching her chest, your father's proud, watery smile. They are all witnessing a masterpiece of theater, and you are the only one who knows the third act is a horror show. She reaches you. The officiant, a kindly-faced woman named Margaret, beams at you both. Who presents this woman to be married to this man? She asks, her voice warm and resonant. Chloe's father, his voice thick with emotion, answers, her mother and I do. He places her hand in yours. Her skin is cool, her grip firm. She gives your fingers a confident, possessive squeeze. It feels like a claim staked on a piece of condemned property. Dearly beloved, Margaret begins, we are gathered here today to witness and celebrate the union of Alex and Chloe. It is a day of joy, a testament to the power of love, trust, and the beautiful future they will build together. The words, so full of promise, are like salt in a wound. Trust. The foundation you're now standing on is quicksand. You try to listen, to find some shred of the feeling that brought you here, but all you can see is Lena's cool, assessing gaze from last night. All you can hear is Mark's voice in the bathroom describing the envelope of cash. All you can feel is the weight of the USB drive in your pocket and the ghost of Sarah's warning about an upgrade. You glance at Chloe. Her serene smile hasn't slipped. Is she waiting for her moment? Is she planning to hijack the vows for her own grand pronouncement? Margaret turns to you. Alex, do you take Chloe to be your wife? Do you promise to be true to her, in good times and in bad, in sickness and in health, to love and to cherish her, for all the days of your life? This is it. The moment you say, I do, you are consenting to the lie. You are agreeing to a partnership built on a betrayal you cannot forgive. The silence stretches for a beat too long. A faint ripple of confused amusement passes through the guests. They think you have cold feet. You see a flicker of something, annoyance? Panic, in Chloe's eyes. You take a slow, deep breath, your grip on her hands tightening just enough to be felt. I have vows I've written, you say, your voice clear and steady, cutting through the gentle music and the rustle of the crowd. If that's all right. Margaret, looking slightly relieved, nods enthusiastically. Of course. Please, share your heart with us, Alex. Chloe's smile becomes a fraction more fixed. This wasn't in the rehearsal. You had both agreed to traditional vows. But she can't object, not here, not now. She gives a tiny, regal nod of permission. You reach into your inner pocket, but you don't pull out a piece of paper. Your fingers brush against the USB drive, then close around nothing. You look directly at Chloe, your gaze steady, your voice dropping into an intimate register that makes the guests lean in, believing they are about to witness an especially romantic moment. Chloe, you begin. From the moment I met you, I believed I had found my sanctuary. After a past that left me fractured, you felt like coming home. You promised me safety. You promised me trust. Her eyes are wide, a beautiful, dewy blue. She's buying it. She thinks this is a preamble to your devotion. I trusted you with my scars, you continue, your voice softening further, drawing her in. I trusted you with the story of Lena. I trusted you when you held me and told me that someone who could do that was toxic, that they were cruel, that I deserved so much better. A faint line appears between her perfectly sculpted eyebrows. This is veering away from the script. I trusted you so completely, you say, the words now taking on a harder edge, that when you suggested we invite everyone important to our wedding, I never thought to double-check the guest list. I trusted you. The first flicker of true panic ignites in her eyes. She tries to pull her hands back, but you hold them fast. Imagine my surprise, you say, your voice still calm, almost conversational, but now carrying to the very back row, when I discovered you had taken the one person from my past who represented pain, and you sent her a gold-embossed invitation. You invited my ex, Lena, to our wedding. A collective, sharp gasp ripples through the crowd, followed by a wave of frantic, horrified whispering. Your mother's hand flies to her mouth. Chloe's face has drained of all color, the white of her dress now matching her complexion. Your reason, you press on, relentless, was that it was a gesture of closure. A beautiful, forgiving thing to do. You said it was to show strength. But that wasn't it, was it, Chloe? You told me the real reason last night. You were tired of the ghost. You wanted to prove you had one. You turn your head slightly, your eyes scanning the crowd until you find Lena. She is sitting perfectly still, her expression unreadable, but her body is coiled like a spring. She knows the spotlight is about to swing her way, so, here we are, you say, turning back to your frozen bride. You got your wish. Lena is here. And because of your beautiful gesture, our wedding day, which was supposed to be about us, has become a stage. And I refuse to be a puppet in this play any longer. The serene wedding atmosphere is gone, replaced by the electric, horrified buzz of a scandal unfolding in real time. Chloe is a statue of white lace and sheer panic, her mouth slightly agape, her eyes wide with the terror of a creature realizing the trap has snapped shut around its own leg. The guests are no longer whispering, they are staring, a unified audience of stunned silence waiting for the next act. You have taken control of the narrative, and the power of it is as terrifying as it is liberating. You release Chloe's hands, and they fall limply to her sides. You take a deliberate step back, creating a physical chasm between you on the raised platform. Your gaze sweeps over the congregation, finally landing and holding on Lena. She meets your stare, and for the first time, you see a crack in her polished armor, a flicker of surprise, and something darker, more dangerous. She did not expect this. She expected to be the puppeteer, not a named character in your script. You invited a ghost, Chloe, you say, your voice projecting clearly, no longer intimate but declarative. But you forgot that ghosts can speak. And they often have the most interesting stories to tell. You turn your head toward the sound booth. Dave, the AV tech, is staring at the scene unfolding, his mouth hanging open, headphones ask you. You give him a single, sharp nod that he understands. His eyes wide with a mixture of terror and professional duty, he turns to his console and clicks the mouse. The soft focus photo of you and Chloe vanishes from the large screen. It is replaced by the stark, black background and white text of your file. The first line glares out at the audience, a silent accusation. A wedding should be built on trust. A fresh wave of murmurs rolls through the crowd. Chloe makes a small, choked sound. You don't look at her. Your eyes are locked on the screen as the text changes, line by line, each one a hammer blow. What happens when that trust is broken before the vows even begin? 3 days ago, the groom discovered his fiancée had secretly invited his emotionally abusive ex-girlfriend, Lena, to their wedding, head swiveled toward Lena. She doesn't flinch, but her jaw is clenched so tight you can see the muscle twitching from where you stand. The reason given, a gesture of closure. The real reason, confessed by the bride, I was tired of the ghost. I wanted to prove I had one. A sound of pure anguish escapes Chloe's mother. Chloe herself seems to be shrinking inside her magnificent dress. The text continues, cold and clinical. The ex, Lena, arrived last night. She was observed in a clandestine meeting with a man in a parked CAR.AN envelope, believed to contain cash, was exchanged. The man was a photographer. Not a guest. Not a vendor. A private investigator with a camera. The screen holds on that final line. The silence in the barn is absolute, profound. You can hear the rustle of leaves outside. You have laid out the evidence. You have shown them the battlefield. Now, it is time to play the audio. You nod again at Dave that he clicks another command. The sound of Lena's voice, crisp and dripping with contempt from your phone's recording, erupts from the high-quality speakers, filling the sacred space. You're pathetic, Alex. You think this mediocrity is a life? I need a man who challenges me, not one who follows me around like a lost puppy waiting for a scrap of affection. The voice is unmistakable. It is Lena's. It is the voice of the woman Chloe had called formative, the ghost she had tried to exorcise. The voice is a weapon, and it finds its mark not just in you, but in every person present who now understands the true nature of the woman they were asked to celebrate. As her recorded voice hangs in the air, the real Lena stands up. The motion is fluid, deliberate. All eyes are on her. The serene mask is gone, replaced by a cold, furious glare directed not at you, but at Chloe. The audio was your defense, your justification. But it has also served as Lena's cue. Her plan, whatever it was, has been incinerated by your preemptive strike. Now, she is improvising. And an improvising Lena is the most dangerous creature of all. The echo of Lena's recorded voice fades, leaving a silence so heavy it feels like a physical presence pressing down on the barn. For a moment, no one moves. They are a gallery of statues, frozen in various states of shock, disgust, and morbid fascination. Then, all the energy in the room seems to funnel toward the single point where Lena is now standing. Her chair scrapes softly against the wooden floor as she pushes it back, the sound unnaturally loud in the hush. She doesn't look at you. Her entire focus, a predator's laser-like intensity, is locked on Chloe, who stands trembling at the altar, exposed and utterly broken. You stupid, Stupid girl, Lena says, her voice not loud, but cutting through the silence like a shard of glass. It isn't a shout, it's a statement of fact, dripping with a condescension so profound it makes Chloe flinch as if struck. You thought you could use me? As a prop in your little victory lap? She takes a slow, deliberate step into the aisle, her black dress a slash of darkness in the sea of pastel wedding guests. You thought inviting me here would make you look strong? It just showed me how pathetically weak you are. So insecure that you needed to parade your new toy in front of the old owner to feel like you'd won something. Chloe makes another guttural sound, a mix of a sob and a denial, but no words come out. The perfect bride is gone, replaced by a hollowed-out shell, her makeup beginning to streak with silent tears. You wanted a spectacle? Lena continues, her voice rising slightly, taking on a theatrical quality as she addresses the stunned guests. Well, you got one. But you're not the star, sweetheart. You're the punchline. She stops a few feet from the altar, her eyes raking over Chloe's devastated form. Did you really think he loved you? The man you had to trick into marrying you by trying to force a confrontation with his past? That's not love. That's desperation. You reek of it. This is no longer your show. This is Lena's final, brutal performance, and she is commandeering the ruins of your wedding as her stage. She turns her head, her gaze finally swinging to you. There's no warmth there, but a flicker of something that might be respect, or perhaps just acknowledgement of a worthy adversary. And you, Alex, she says, a smirk twisting her lips. I'll admit, I didn't see this coming. The sheep has fangs. Bravo. Her smirk vanishes. But you're still a fool. You picked this? She gestures dismissively at Chloe. A woman so transparent, so needy, that she thought my presence would validate her? You traded one kind of poison for another. Before you can respond, a new voice, ragged and raw, cuts through the air. Shut up. It's Chloe. She's found her voice, but it's a shattered, hysterical thing. The tears are flowing freely now, carving rivers through her foundation. All pretense, all performance, has been burned away, leaving only a raw, wounded animal. You don't know anything. You don't know us. Lena laughs, a short, ugly sound. I know everything I need to know. I saw it the moment I walked in last night. You clinging to him like a life raft, your eyes screaming how terrified you were that he'd still want me. This whole wedding was a cry for help. A plea for him to choose you, publicly, so you could finally feel secure. It's pathetic. I loved him. Chloe shrieks, the sound tearing from her throat. I did it because I loved him. No, Lena says, her voice dropping back to that deadly calm. You did it because you loved the idea of saving him from me. You wanted to be the heroine in a story that was already over. And look how well that worked out for you. The truth of the statement, delivered with Lena's signature surgical precision, is the final blow. Chloe's legs buckle. She doesn't collapse, but she stumbles, grabbing onto the flower-adorned arbor for support. The structure wobbles precariously. She looks from Lena's cold, triumphant face to your resolute, impassive one, and then out at the sea of horrified guests, her family, her friends, everyone she ever wanted to impress. The full weight of her miscalculation, the utter annihilation of her dream, crashes down upon her. A wail of pure, unadulterated agony escapes her, a sound of such profound loss and shame that it silences even Lena. There are no more words. There is only the wreckage. The sound of Chloe's anguish seems to hang in the air long after it has faded, a spectral echo in the now silent barn. The wail had been a raw, unfiltered thing, stripping away the last vestiges of the perfect wedding and leaving only the ugly, exposed truth beneath. She clings to the arbor, her body racked with silent, shuddering sobs, her face buried in the flowers. The guests are a frozen tableau of mortification. No one knows where to look, at the weeping bride, the coldly triumphant ex, or the groom who set the entire catastrophe into motion. Lena watches Chloe's breakdown for a moment longer, her expression one of clinical satisfaction. The predator has cornered its prey and found the kill sufficient. She then turns that cool, assessing gaze on you. The smirk is gone, replaced by a look of stark, almost professional appraisal. Well, she says, her voice cutting through the heavy silence. I believe my work here is done. She says it as if she's just concluded a difficult but successful business negotiation. She straightens the sleeve of her dress, a final, pointless gesture of composure amidst the chaos she helped create. It seems your little surprise rendered my own preparations redundant. A pity. It was going to be quite the reveal. She doesn't elaborate. She doesn't need to. The implication of her preparations, the paid photographer, the envelope of cash, hangs in the air, a chilling coda to the symphony of ruin. She had come armed for a war, and you had simply detonated the battlefield before she could fire a shot, with a last, lingering glance that sweeps over the shattered scene, the sobbing Chloe, your stony face, the horrified audience. She turns. She doesn't slink away. She doesn't hurry. She walks back up the aisle with the same unnerving grace with which she entered, a queen departing a conquered kingdom. Guests shrink back from her as she passes, as if her mere proximity might be contagious. The large barn doors swing open, then closed behind her, sealing her exit. The sudden absence of her presence is as jarring as her entrance had been. The main antagonist has left the stage, but the tragedy is far from over. Her departure acts like a trigger, releasing the room from its stunned paralysis. A cacophony of sound erupts. Angry shouts from Chloe's father. The high, frantic wailing of her mother. The confused, overlapping questions from a dozen different directions. The string quartet, who had long since stopped playing, are packing their instruments with frantic, embarrassed haste. Through the chaos, you see Sarah. She is at Chloe's side, having rushed from her seat the moment Lena began her walk of shame. She has an arm around Chloe's heaving shoulders, trying to shield her from the staring eyes, her own face a mask of pity and fury. She looks up at you, and her eyes are not accusatory, but deeply, profoundly sad. She gives you a small, grim nod. It's not an endorsement, it's an acknowledgement that the inevitable has happened. You don't move. You stand your ground at the altar, the place you were supposed to pledge your life to another person. The floral arrangements, the white chairs, the discarded programs, it all looks like a movie set after the director has yelled, "Cut." The reality of what you have done finally settles onto your shoulders, a leaden cloak of consequence. You have achieved your goal. You have exposed the betrayal, you have turned the tables, you have defended yourself against both your fiancé and your ex. You are, technically, victorious, but as you look at Chloe, utterly broken and publicly humiliated, supported only by her maid of honor, you feel no triumph. There is no glory in this rubble. There is only a vast, hollow emptiness. The anger that fueled you has burned out, leaving behind the cold ashes of a future that will never be. You didn't just call off a wedding, you orchestrated a public execution of a relationship, and the collateral damage is strewn across the faces of every person in this room. You take one last look at the ruins, at the life you meticulously dismantled with a USB drive and a few well-chosen words. Then, you turn. It is time to leave the stage. Turning your back on the altar feels like turning your back on a shipwreck. The sounds of the devastation, Chloe's weeping, the frantic, hushed consolations, the outraged sputters of her family, follow you as you walk, but they begin to fade, muffled by the thick walls of the barn and the even thicker wall of numbness descending around you. You don't look at the guests as you move up the aisle. Their faces are a blur of pale, shocked ovals. You keep your eyes fixed on the large doors, now just an exit, not an entrance. Mark falls into step beside you, a solid, silent presence. He doesn't speak. He doesn't try to offer a comforting hand on the shoulder or a word of reassurance. He understands that there are no words for this. He simply matches your pace, a bodyguard escorting you out of a war zone. As you push through the doors, the bright, cheerful afternoon sunlight feels like an assault. The world outside is oblivious, carrying on with its perfect summer day, a cruel joke in contrast to the darkness you've just unleashed. You don't stop. You walk past the confused valets, past a server holding a tray of untouched champagne flutes, his smile dying as he takes in your expression. You head straight for the parking lot, for your car. The weight of the wedding ring in your pocket, the one you were supposed to slip onto Chloe's finger, feels like a lead slug. My place, Mark says. It's the first thing he's said, and it isn't a question. You just nod, handing him the keys. You're in no state to drive. The journey to his apartment is a silent, dreamlike transit through a city that hasn't changed, even though your entire world has. He lives in a utilitarian, slightly messy one-bedroom that has always been a sanctuary of takeout boxes and video games. It has never felt more like a refuge than it does now. He unlocks the door, ushers you in, and goes straight to the kitchen, returning with 2 glasses and a bottle of amber whiskey. He pours 2 generous fingers into each and pushes one across the coffee table to you. You down it in one burning gulp, the heat a welcome distraction from the ice in your veins. He refills your glass without comment. The numbness begins to recede, replaced by a tremor that starts deep in your core and radiates outward. The adrenaline is gone, and the crash is monumental. Your hands shake so violently you have to set the glass down. The images flash behind your eyes, Chloe's face as the text appeared on the screen, the look of vicious satisfaction on Lena's face, the sound of that first collective gasp from the crowd. You begin, your voice rough, alien to your own ears. Did I just become the monster? Mark takes a slow sip of his whiskey. No, he says, his voice firm. You were in a room with 2 monsters. One was a scorpion, the other was a snake. You didn't become one of them. You just refused to be the frog that carried them across the river. The analogy is absurd, but it lands. You look at him, really look at him, seeing the fatigue and the fierce loyalty in his eyes. I destroyed her, Mark. In front of everyone. She was trying to destroy you, he counters, his tone leaving no room for argument. She just planned on doing it slowly, over a lifetime, by making you doubt your own sanity every time she pulled a stunt like this. What you did was surgical. Brutal, yeah. But it was one cut, and it's over. Her way would have been 1,000 little cuts until there was nothing left of you. Don't you ever forget that. You lean forward, resting your elbows on your knees, your head in your hands. The guilt and the relief are at war inside you, 2 tidal waves crashing into each other. The guilt for the public humiliation, for the pain you saw on the faces of people who didn't deserve it. The relief, profound and undeniable, that you are out. That you are free. That you will never have to wonder what secret game Chloe is playing, never have to brace for the next emotional landmine disguised as a loving gesture. The weight of the lie is gone. You are standing in the rubble, but you are standing on your own 2 feet. What happens now? You whisper to the floor. Now, Mark says, refilling your glass for a 3rd time. You finish this drink. Then you sleep. You don't answer your phone. You don't look at the internet. You let the world spin without you for a few hours. We'll deal with now, tomorrow. You nod, the motion feeling heavy and slow. There will be fallout. There will be angry phone calls, text messages, the logistical nightmare of canceling a half-finished wedding. There will be the painful process of untangling two lives that were woven tightly together. But that is for tomorrow. For now, in the quiet, messy safety of your best friend's apartment, with the whiskey warming the hollow cold inside you, you allow yourself one simple, undeniable truth: it is over. And for the first time since you saw Lena's name on that guest list, you take a full, deep, unconstricted breath. The next 48 hours pass in a disconnected haze, a series of still frames rather than a moving picture. You sleep on Mark's couch, a deep, dreamless sleep of utter exhaustion. You wake to the smell of coffee and the low, steady hum of Mark on the phone in the other room, his voice a calm, firm barrier against the outside world. No, he's not available. No comment. I'll pass along the message. He's your gatekeeper, and you have never been more grateful. Your phone, when you finally brave looking at it, is a monument to the catastrophe. Dozens of missed calls from your parents, Chloe's parents, numbers you don't recognize. A torrent of text messages ranging from concerned to furious to heartbroken. There is one from your mother that simply says, "My poor boy. Call me when you can." There is nothing from Chloe. The silence from her is louder than any scream. You do not look at social media. Mark has already warned you. "It's a shit show," he said bluntly. Pictures, videos, hot takes. Everyone's got an opinion. Don't give them the satisfaction of seeing you read them. You take his advice. The world can have its opinion. You are too busy grappling with the reality that on the second day, you finally call your parents. The conversation is tearful, difficult, but ultimately supportive. They are horrified, yes, but their horror is directed at the situation, not at you. They had seen the change in you over the last few months, the subtle tension they couldn't quite name. Now, they have a name for it. "We just want you to be okay," your mother says, her voice thick with emotion. However you need to do that. The logistics are handled with a cold, brutal efficiency that feels like administering last rites. Mark, acting as your proxy, coordinates with a shell-shocked and apologetic Alara to cancel the remainder of the vendors. The honeymoon in Bali is cancelled. The gifts will be returned. It's the dismantling of a life that never truly was. A week after the non-wedding, you finally return to your apartment. The apartment. Mark comes with you, a silent bodyguard for an emotional minefield. Using the key feels like a violation. The air inside is stale, untouched. It still smells faintly of jasmine. The place is exactly as you left it, a perfectly preserved museum exhibit titled, "The Day Before Everything Ended." You move through it like a ghost. You see the notepad by the landline where Chloe had scribbled florist notes. The half-empty mug in the sink. The photo on the mantle from your engagement party, both of you beaming with a joy that now feels like a lie. It's all evidence of a crime scene, but the crime was the lie itself. You go straight to the bedroom and pull a suitcase from the closet. You don't look at the side of the closet that is still full of her clothes, her shoes, the ghost of her presence. You only take what is yours. You fill the suitcase with your essentials, your important documents, the few personal items that hold meaning for you alone. The process is mechanical, dispassionate. You are an archaeologist carefully extracting your own artifacts from a ruined civilization. You leave behind the "my person" mug. You leave behind the cozy throw blanket. You leave behind the framed photos. They are not yours anymore. They are props from a play that has closed. As you zip the suitcase closed, you take one last look around. The grief is there, a dull, persistent ache, but it's not for the loss of Chloe. It's for the loss of the future you believed in, the person you thought she was, the life you thought you were building. You are not mourning her, you are mourning your own illusion. You walk out of the apartment, pulling the suitcase behind you. You don't look back. You close the door on that chapter, the click of the latch a final, definitive sound. You don't have all the answers. You don't know where you'll live permanently, how you'll navigate the shared friends, how long the scars of this very public unraveling will take to heal. But as you step into the elevator and descend, a strange, quiet sense of peace begins to settle over you. The chaos is outside of you now. The war is over. You lost a bride, a future, a version of yourself. But you won something far more valuable back, yourself. The first month is the quietest of your life. You rent a small, furnished apartment with a view of a different part of the city, a place with no history, no ghosts in the corners. The silence here is different from the toxic silence of the home you shared with Chloe. This silence is clean, a blank canvas. You spend days doing nothing but reading, taking long, aimless walks, and relearning the simple rhythm of your own breath. The world, fueled by the sensational video clips and salacious gossip, moves on quickly, finding new scandals to consume. You let it. You become a quiet rumor in your own life, and you find a strange power in that anonymity. The messages from mutual friends eventually trickle to a stop, the ones choosing sides having made their choice. You learn, through the careful, neutral filter of Mark, that Chloe moved back in with her parents for a while. There is no word from Lena. She has vanished back into the ecosystem from which she came, her work complete. You feel nothing when you hear these updates, no schadenfreude, no lingering anger. They are just data points in a story that is no longer yours. You start therapy. You sit in a comfortable chair across from a calm, kind-eyed woman and you begin the slow, painstaking work of unpacking it all, not just the wedding, but the patterns that led you there. The need for validation that made you vulnerable to Alina, the desire for a peaceful sanctuary that blinded you to the controlling insecurities of a Chloe. You talk about your parents, your childhood, your fears. It is exhausting and liberating. You are not just moving on, you are rebuilding your foundation from the ground up, this time on the unshakable ground of self-awareness. 6 months after the wedding that wasn't, you meet an old college friend for coffee. She's heard the stories, of course, but she doesn't mention them. She talks about her job, her dog, a new hiking trail she's discovered. The normalcy of it is a balm. As you're leaving, she says, you seem different. Lighter. And you are. The weight you carried for years, the weight of other people's expectations and manipulations, is gone. You are no longer the lost puppy, the loyal sheep, the project for an insecure bride to fix. You are just, you. Flawed, healing, but solid. You start writing again, something you'd loved but had let fall away. You go to the movies alone and don't feel lonely. You rediscover the simple, profound joy of your own company. One evening, standing on your small balcony watching the city lights begin to glitter in the twilight, you realize the most important truth of all. Your story was never about revenge. Revenge was simply the brutal, necessary tool you used to break free from a cage. The real story was about reclamation. It was about taking back your narrative, your peace, and your life. Lena and Chloe were not the antagonists of your story, they were the catalysts. They forced you to choose yourself, and in the blazing wreckage of a wedding altar, you finally did. The pacing of the narrative slows here, the vocabulary softens, the sentences find a longer, more thoughtful rhythm. The frantic energy of the betrayal and the confrontation has dissipated, leaving behind the quiet hum of introspection and the gentle, steady work of healing. The story concludes not with a bang, but with a deep, satisfying sense of closure. The real closure. Chloe's gesture was never designed to bring that so. What's the moral of the story? Is it that revenge is a dish best served cold, preferably with high-quality audiovisual equipment? Perhaps. But maybe it's something deeper. Maybe it's that the greatest rebellion isn't against the people who wrong you, but against the version of yourself that was willing to endure it. Everyone has their story, their private battles and public humiliations. The victory isn't in never getting hurt, it's in refusing to let the hurt become your home. Now, I'm curious to hear from you. If you found yourself in a situation where your trust was shattered so completely, do you think you could walk away, even if it meant causing a scene and breaking every convention? Or would the pressure to just get through the day and avoid the drama be too strong? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Until next time, remember, everyone has their story. Make sure you're the one holding the pen.